All right, welcome into Stadium Showdown. I'm Chris Fry filling in for Jeff Slauson. Last week we found out ODOT said the proposed Brook Park dome was 58 feet too high to be built next to Cleveland Hopkins Airport, even though the FAA cleared the project. Well, this week we found out who was urging the ODOT decision to make that ruling, and to no surprise, it was the city of Cleveland. They run the airport, but they also are trying to keep this project from getting off the ground. Our Dan DeRose joins us with what we found out.
After we found out that ODOT is not going to give a permit because they say the stadium is going to be too tall, the question became who got to who, or who was corresponding with whom. And a lot of it comes back to these letters. These letters were sent by the Director of Port Control. You might ask what that is. The city of Cleveland, yes, at City Hall, they have an office called Port Control. They control the airport. And so, of course, they have a vested interest in saying that any dome 58 feet too high or otherwise is too dangerous to be that close to the airport. So this letter, and there were actually two of them sent back in March. This one was sent to the FAA. This one was sent to ODOT saying, we think it's just too dangerous. Not only this letter to ODOT in March, but yet another letter in June saying, hey, remember ODOT, when we sent you that letter back in March, we still stand by that. Why did this letter get sent? Well, because the FAA went ahead and said, no, it's safe. We've studied it, we've looked at the plans, and we think it's safe. So I had to take all of these issues, the fact that the FAA doesn't matter, but ODOT does, and that's fine, that's rule of law in the state. But also the fact that there could be a bias here when you have somebody that was appointed by Mayor Justin Bibb sending continued letters to ODOT asking them to deny that permit. I took those questions to the governor this week.
Did you know about the letter that was sent to the Browns attorneys on August 1st that said ODOT would not allow the permit, saying the stadium was too big? Did you know about it before it was sent? If you didn't, okay, then what was your reaction when you heard it was out there?
Yeah, so I did not know about it until it became public. And, I was surprised, but there is a process and we have to follow the process, and that's what's taking place. So we'll see how this turns out. Look, everyone wants to be safe. Everyone wants the airport to be safe and the passengers going in and out of there to be safe and our planes safe. But we also know this is a major economic development movement, and it's at this point pretty far along the way.
So that was going to be my next question. Are we going to lose a $3 billion project because of 58 feet?
We have to see. The way that the law works is I don't make that decision. That decision is made by the Ohio Department of Transportation. And people say, well, we're surprised by that. And I understand that people being surprised, but the Ohio Revised Code is very clear that that's who ultimately makes this decision. And, what I hope happens, or I believe will happen, is they're going to take a look at this. And, the Browns are going to make their case. They're going to talk about why they think it's safe. I think the fact that, the federal officials decided it was safe is certainly significant. I think that's very, very significant.
And the FAA says it's safe.
The FAA says it's safe. So, you start off with the fact that if it's above a certain level, then you have to get what I call a waiver, from the federal officials. They looked at it on several different occasions. They came back and they said, yes, it's okay. ODOT then took a look at it, and what persuaded ODOT was the fact that the airport itself says, no, it's not safe.
But you can see where they're a little biased. I mean, the man who sends a letter, he's the director of the Board of Port Control, and he was appointed by Mayor Bibb. So, of course, they're going to say no.
Well, I'm not going to get into that, but I was trying to walk people through exactly what the process is. And so their procedure, ODOT's procedure, they tell me, for the last 10 years, has been if the local airport says no, they don't do it.
According to the governor, as you just heard, this is not a dead-in-the-water project, that there can be a meeting of the minds. The Browns will have to sit down with ODOT. And the question will be, when it comes down to it, does the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, saying they've studied it, they looked at it, and it should be safe, Does that weigh more than a City of Cleveland office emailing or mailing ODOT saying, don't approve this? We'll just have to wait and see. Dan DeRose, 19 News.
Well, the city of Brook Park just took a major step to help make the Browns' new stadium a reality. We'll tell you all about it when Stadium Showdown continues. All right, welcome back. The major development this week in the Stadium Showdown. The city of Brook Park voting to rezone 176 acres from industrial to mixed use, making way for the Dome Stadium. Michelle Nix tonight has the story.
Another major step forward for the city of Brook Park and the Haslam Sports Group as they make a monumental zoning change, moving them closer to the goal line to build a new Dome Stadium. A special meeting in Brook Park as a third reading was held on the issue of rezoning the 176-acre site at Snow and Engle Roads to accommodate the Haslam Sports Group's plans for a new Dome Stadium for the Cleveland Browns, as well as an entertainment district. But Brook Park Mayor Edward Orcott's first order of business was to assure the public that ODOT's denial of a construction permit, because the dome exceeds the allowable height limit by 58 feet, is something that can be worked out.
More due diligence is happening, obviously, to rectify that, and I have 1,000% confidence that this project will be a go here in the city of Brook Park.
Then it was time for the main event and the issue of rezoning.
Here we are coming through the new version of the Muni Lot.
The president of Haslam Sports Group reinforced that he believes a transformative project in Brook Park will have something for everyone. And while Ward 1 Councilman Tom Troyer said he's in favor of the project, he refused to approve it the way it is currently written. However, his vote ultimately could not change the outcome.
It passed 6-1 on third reading.
This, though, was a huge step forward for the city of Brook Park because now we've taken it from U5 industrial and we've broadened what we're doing here and made it U1 through U6 zones. So we can have residential, two-family apartments, warehouses, industrial still here.
Reporting in Brook Park, Michelle Nix, 19 News.
All right, well, this week, the Browns in-house podcast called Building Brownstone posted a new interview with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. In it, he discusses how major this project could be for all of Northeast Ohio. And while he wasn't asked about the new 58-foot controversy, he does bring up other stadiums that have been built in areas of major airports like LAX. Here's the first part of that interview, hosted by Browns reporter Nathan Zagura.
Welcome into another edition of Building Brownstown, and today we have a very special guest, the Commissioner of the National Football League, Roger Goodell. Commissioner Goodell, thank you so much for the time. It is great to be with you today.
Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about big picture here in the National Football League. Why are these new stadium projects so important to you and the NFL at large?
Well, multiple reasons. I think they're they're really important to our communities also. These stadiums are more than just a stage or more than just a stadium. They're actually economic drivers in their communities. No stadium is the same as another stadium. They vary from community to community for reasons. Some are domes, some are open air, some are mixed use, some are not. But I think what we're seeing is a real trend to make these stadiums a part of the community and drive economic activity in those communities that can be incredibly beneficial on a year-round basis. And I think that's a really positive trend for the communities, but I also think the NFL. And of course, it's a huge fan experience. I'm a big believer in we owe it to our fans to give them a great fan experience. That's everything from getting to the stadium to the moment you get home. Make it a great experience for our fans. That's really important.
It is, and the Browns fans certainly are excited about this opportunity to have a state-of-the-art enclosed facility. You mentioned that economic development and what it means to the community. This has a chance to be transformative for the Northeast Ohio region. So what kind of economic development have you seen from these stadium projects, especially those with the surrounding mixed-use developments?
Well, I think they've actually reshaped communities across the country. Because of the vision of the leadership, particularly in the public sector and the private sector, and our NFL teams, where they're looking at how do you develop an entire portion of a city. Nashville is a great example of that. Los Angeles, when we returned to Los Angeles, that has actually changed the entire landscape of that area, which is right near the airport, has a lot of similarities to Brook Park. But it's become a mixed-use site where you have retail, you have dining, you have other economic activity, office buildings. Those are drivers and magnets to further economic activity, where they just built a new arena across the street from our site. So these become really important structures that bring in additional investments into the communities. And when you have people like the Haslam's who really understand the importance of this, willing to invest billions of dollars and to work to try to make this really work for the community, I think that's a great thing.
One of the things that struck me when I was talking with Jimmy and Dee about this project is that they said, look, we are stewards of a treasured community asset for a period of time. And as those stewards, we want to do everything we can for that asset and for this community. When you hear that that's the mindset of an ownership group, and then now they're kind of putting, as you said, their money where their mouth is in this, mixed-use development, the enclosed stadium in Brook Park, how does that resonate with you as the commissioner of this league?
Incredibly well, Nathan, and proud that our ownership, and particularly both Dee and Jimmy Haslam and their entire family, they're committed to Cleveland. They're committed to making sure that, they provide the best possible opportunity. They're committed to investing in Berea, where they're putting hundreds of millions of dollars into redoing that portion of the community and their training facility. These are all investments that the Haslams are making, other owners are making across the league. But I couldn't be prouder of the Haslams and their vision and their willingness to invest behind it in the community as well as the Browns.
All right, next, more from this Roger Goodell interview, including the chance of Cleveland getting a Super Bowl if a dome is built, along with another NFL draft in Northeast Ohio. All right, welcome back. In the second half of this 9-minute interview with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Browns reporter Nathan Zagora talks about how the Brook Park Stadium would be Super Bowl ready and maybe the chance of getting a do-over from Cleveland's COVID-era NFL draft.
Is there something special about the fact that the NFL season begins every year in Ohio with the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction, with the Hall of Fame, the kickoff game, and that now Ohio is going to have a state-of-the-art facility right here in the birthplace of football?
Yeah, there is, because it is. It's the birthplace of football. And I don't, we have a lot of great football communities, but you look at the history of our league, Ohio stands really tall in that, having two NFL franchises with the Browns and the Bengals, having the Hall of Fame, being the birthplace of our game. It is a big part of our history, but more importantly, it's a big part of our future.
It certainly will be. And you mentioned earlier, it also has the most passionate fans. We like to think about the Dog Pound. It's the 40th anniversary of the Dog Pound. Browns fans are as loyal, passionate, invested as any around the league, and there are a lot of great fan bases. But you mentioned earlier, the fan experience, to give fans of that level a stadium at that level seems like a pretty exciting opportunity.
I do. I think it's great for our fans. The stadium that I've seen in the vision that's there is going to be one that will be unmatched. And I think that's something that the Browns fans will take great pride in. But I also think, again, investing in the community beyond just the stadium, the investment of economic activity, I think that's going to serve the entire region, including the downtown, in a very, very positive way.
And you know what serves the entire region is that when you build a state-of-the-art facility like this enclosed Huntington Bank Field will be in Brook Park, you surround it with that mixed-use economic development. You're also pretty attractive for big events. And I know you've said before that the building is Super Bowl quality. What does that mean for this region, the type of events that it can attract in the NFL and otherwise? But of course, in the NFL and the big events, Super Bowl drafts, which we've had a draft here in Cleveland in the past.
Yeah, Nathan, I think the stadium will be a state-of-the-art facility. It'll be something that everyone will be proud of, from the NFL to the community, of course, the Haslam family. Super Bowl, though, has become bigger than just a stadium, right? You have to have a lot of facilities to host the Super Bowl, from hotel rooms. I think we're close to 50,000 high-quality hotel rooms. The other facilities, the airport, which I think and hope in the context of this development, we'll see upgrades also. Those are all part of hosting something like the Super Bowl. We had the draft there several years ago, which has become Super Bowl-like in its impact and also in the needs. Unfortunately, the draft that was held in Cleveland was right after COVID, and we were coming out of that. But I still, my hat's off to the people of Cleveland, not just the fans, but the public sector and the Haslam family and the Browns, for making that happen in such a way that I think we all could be proud of, and we kept everybody safe. And I think that was a really big statement. So I hope the draft will be back. I hope, this is something that we'll be talking about from a Super Bowl standpoint at some point in the future.
Well, that would be very exciting because, listen, Cleveland, we understand, coming out of COVID, couldn't be quite on full display. So I know that there are a lot of people that want to know, you mentioned it could come back, saying, when will it come back? When will that draft come back here to Cleveland, Commissioner?
I don't know the answer to that, but I think the stadium is a big part of that. I really do. For us, whether it's in the stadium or whether it's around the stadium, as you know, we were right on the banks of Lake Erie, which was a beautiful setting. I think the draft is an important element. I don't think we delivered all that we should in that because of COVID. And I definitely want to see the draft get back there sometime soon.
All right. Thanks for watching the Stadium Showdown. I'm Chris Fry. Of course, you can see past episodes on demand. And stay tuned. 19 News at 7 o'clock is just minutes away. It's available on all of your streaming platforms, including 19 News Plus. Have a good evening.